joyful noise unto the I am, all ye lands. Sing forth the honor of his name, make his praise glorious. Say unto God, how terrible are thy works. Through the greatness of thy power shall thine enemies submit themselves unto thee. All the earth shall worship thee and shall sing unto thee. They shall sing to thy name, Selah. Come and see the works of the I am. He is terrible in his doing toward the children of men. He turned the sea into dry land, and they went through the flood on the foot. Where there did we rejoice in him. He ruleth by his power forever, and his eyes behold the nations. Let not the rebellious exalt themselves, Selah. Oh, bless our God, ye people, and make the voice of his praise to be heard, which holdeth our soul in life, and suffereth not our feet to be moved. For thou, O God, hast proved us, and hast tried us, and silver is tried. Thou broughtest us into the net. Thou laidest affliction upon our loins. Thou hast caused men to ride over our heads. We went through fire and through water, but thou broughtest us out into a wealthy place. Yes, I will go into thy house with burnt offerings, and I will pay thee my vows which my lips have uttered. My mouth hath spoken when I was in trouble. I will offer unto thee the sacrifices of fatlings with the incense of rams, and I will also offer bullocks with goats, Selah. Come and hear, all ye that fear God, and I will declare what he hath done for my soul. And I will cry unto him with my mouth, and he was extolled with my tongue. If I regard iniquity in my heart, the I am will not hear me. But verily, God hath heard me, and hath attended to the voice of my prayer. Blessed be the God that hath turned away my prayer, which hath not turned away my prayer, nor his mercy from me. Didn't say nothing about grace. You cannot have grace without mercy. And you cannot have salvation without favor. You can't be saved unless you're being favored. Yes. So therefore, deliver me from the hands of evil spirits who have swayed the thoughts of men's hearts, and let them not lead me astray from thee, my God. Establish me in my seed, that we go not astray henceforth and forever. Jubilees chapter 12 and verse 20. Yes. We thank God for all that he's done. All praises to the I am, the great I am. Yes, he who hath no name, the Heya. Yes, we thank him for all that he's done, for he is worthy of all our praise. Hallelujah. He's whatever you need him to be at the time you need him. Yes, and he's that which you praise him that he is, our creator, our deliverer. Yes, all praises to his name. The one that teaches my hands to prosper and my hands to war. Yes, although that shouldn't have been, according to the book of Enoch, but it was that men were taught to war. God wasn't ready for men to learn how to war, how to be in active and or vigorous conflict. No, he didn't want him to be that way. But the fact is that it happened. Yes, all praises to the Most High. And also we thank God for those of you that have been with us since the beginning, and those of you that have been with us here and there's about, and those of you who have just subscribed, as well as those of you that are about to subscribe, calling those things that are not as though they are. Yes, you're walking with Mr. Clay, and I'm Mr. Clay. And we're in the book of 1 Kings. 1 Kings in chapter 10. 1 Kings in chapter 10. Now, Solomon was very grateful to the Most High and how he had given him peace on all borders of the land of Israel, that Israel had inherited from their father. The land was allotted to their father, Shem. But Canaan decided he wanted to live in the land. You need to go back and read that again. Even go to the book of Jasher. Even the book of Jubilees will tell you the same thing. Canaan made a mistake. Even his own father, Mitzrayim, or should I say Ham, told him not to do it, but he did not listen to his father nor his brothers. But he came and did it, and now he suffers greatly. But yet, He was there for a reason. God did that. He allowed all that stuff to happen for a reason. And we see it throughout the history of the children of Jacob. Now, we're in chapter 10. Solomon was giving God praise for all that God had done. He given him peace on every side so that Solomon may be able to build the temple. You cannot do a lot of infrastructure when you are surrounded in wars just behelmet around you. Can't even think straight for trying to figure out how you're going to maneuver and defeat your enemies. But God had given him peace. Yes, he has. He has given him peace. And now Solomon has built the temple, and he's giving God praise. He's sacrificing according to the word of the Most High. The beauty of the temple, the gold-laden bricks and the wood that has been all encased in gold before the Most High, which the temple was mirrored to that which is in the realm of the Most High. Yes, the realm where it's angels and all the holy host, the 24 elders, which are spirits of God. No, they're not what you think they are. They are spirits of God. Go to the book of, see, this is why these books were cast out. They wanted to write their own narratives or either portray their own narratives. Oh, these were the apostles and some other folks. We don't know who they were. It's right there. The elders looking like old men. They were spirits. They wasn't past, present, and future. No, they were spirits. And they're still there today. 4 and 20 elders. They borrowed that. Once you read those books and you start seeing the book of Revelation and seeing all that, you're going to say, oh man, where was my mind? But nevertheless, we're in 1 Kings chapter 10. 1 Kings chapter 10 and verse 1. And when the queen of Sheba heard of the fame of Solomon concerning the name of the I Am, she came to prove him with hard questions. And she came to Jerusalem with a very great train with camels that bear spices and very much gold and precious stones. And she was come to Solomon, and she communed with him of all that was in her heart. Now we have to remember, Queen of Sheba, according to this narrative, her kingdom, the kingdom that she came from, was in the land that we presently call Yemen, down most south of the Jordan, along the Red Sea. In the side of, it's in the land of Shem. Yes, it's in the land of Shem. It's not near the Nile, but it's on the other side of the Nile, which probably you would have Djibouti, Africa, at that point where Yemen is, on the other side. But either way, she came to Jerusalem with a very great train, gold, and Solomon told her all her questions. There was not anything hid from the king, which he told her not. No, not like you guys would sit up there. Oh, the Lord told me you're going to get a new car. Oh, the Lord told me that you're going to fly to Dubai and you're going to live in the most lavish place. If I had a brick and I could throw it, I would. But the fact is, I can't. But either way. But the fact is that, and when the Queen of Sheba had seen all Solomon's wisdom in the house that he had built, in other words, she said all the things that this was a very, not flamboyant man, but Solomon was a man that he wasn't really rugged, for Benaiah was one that rugged. We can say that his father, a musician in a way. The demeanor of a musician. Order. His father was a musician, but his father was a warrior. But Solomon, he was all that, but yet it wasn't enemies as much as it was in his father David. He was the son of a Hittite woman and the father of a Hebrew king. The son of a Hebrew king. Some of you might dispute that, but it's so. You can't deny it. Because there's no writing that says she was an Israelite. She wasn't. And when the Queen of Sheba had seen all of Solomon's wisdom and the house that he built, and all the meat of his table and the sitting of his servants and the attendant of his ministers, or his servants, they're still servants. How can you say servants and then the attendants of his ministers? It's still servants if you want to get down to grassroots or layman's term. or the sitting of his ministers and the attendance of his ministers, and their apparel and his cupbearers and his ascent by which he went up into the house of the I Am, there was no more spirit in her. She was looking at the order. The order. See, God had an order. During the time of Moses, he had an order in which things could be done. When the thunder roared and the lightnings flashed, he did that people might fear and do the order. But rather that they obey a man, something that they could see. This is a part of paganism. I mean, we have to obey magistrates and we have to give honor to whom honor is due. Yeah, that's a true statement, whether they said it in the New Testament or not. They did it anyway. But the fact is that the order. God is a God of order. Solomon was raised pretty good, and watching his father David and how he had the order even of his own sons, his own wives, and all this, the order. And she saw the order that he had did in the way he did things. And she said to the king in verse 6, "It was true the report that I heard in my own land of thy acts, of thy wisdom, and howbeit I believed not the words until I came into, and mine eyes had seen it, and behold, the half was not told me. Thy wisdom and prosperity exceeded the fame which I heard. Happy are thy men, happy are these servants, or these ministers, which stand continually before thee, and that hear thy wisdom." Listen to me, MP, or minister, or prime minister. You are a servant to the people. You don't like that word, but you are a servant. We serve God. People minister to God. They're serving God. How do they serve God? By obeying that which God has commanded them. That's what that is. You serve God. Don't call yourself more than what you are, lest you be put down as the valleys, even lower. And the navy, also Hiram had bought gold from Ophir. Hiram, he bought gold from Ophir. And from Ophir plenty of almug trees and precious stone. Now Ophir was on the rise. This is where a lot of gold was. Past tense, gold was. And precious stones. And the king made of the almug trees pillars for the house of the I Am and for the king's house. He had good taste. Solomon had very good taste. You can imagine his tapestries and his attire. There's one African man that I said, that man is a dressing man. He speaks a lot. And I forgot his name. But I know one thing. He's there along with the woman. And this guy is a well-dressed African man. Well-dressed. He has an attire, an older man. Yes, around about my age, maybe older, somewhere in that area. But the fact is, his attire is that of an Indian/African attire. Very eloquent, businesslike. And, he's just, and even in his leisure, the things that I've seen of him, he still dresses very neatly. I said, wow, that's pretty nice. This guy really enjoys the way he attires, and that's the way he like it. Yes. Okay. Solomon, you can imagine him being dressed in some of the kingly attire and gold threads and all these other things. And now the weight of gold that came to Solomon in 1 year was 636 talents of gold. That was verse 14. Beside that, he had of the merchantmen and of the traffic of the spice merchants and all of the kings of Arabia and of the governors of the country. Now, if you ever go to that side of the country, Ethiopia, somewhere around there, the spices. They ain't in no cans like you would have your cans everywhere. They grind them for you and everything else. Yeah, I've never been there, but I see it. They grind them and, oh man, you could just smell, if you walk into that market, you could probably smell and it cause you just to float like you see on the cartoons. Just to float toward the smell. I mean, of the frankincense, the myrrh, the spices, the chilies, or should I say the peppers, and I mean the cumin. I mean all these things, the pepper, the black pepper, all kind. Oh man, don't get me to talking. I get hungry now. But either way, I'm telling you, when my time come, I'm gonna go there, and I might not want to come back. Oh boy. And King Solomon made 200 targets of beaten gold. 600 shekels of gold went to one target. And he made 300 shields of beaten golds, 3 pounds of gold with one shield. And the king put them in the house of the forest of Lebanon. You know, he put them in the house. You talking about spoiled. This king was spoiled. People treated him better than they treated God. Moreover, the king made a great throne of ivory and overlaid it with the best gold. This is something else. The throne had 6 steps. This is somewhat like the Egyptian throne. The Egyptian throne was sort of the same, except for I think it had 70 steps going up to the Pharaoh's throne back in when Moses was a young man. Yes, he had to learn the same number of steps as the languages. As each step you went up, you had to speak that language to the Pharaoh. But Pharaoh stopped him halfway and talked to Moses. Because God put it in his heart. This is in the book of Jasher, the book of Jubilees. No, they took it from you. Your pastor don't want you to read that. No, don't you read that. Don't you read the book of Jubilees and the book of Jasher. It's going to make you think something's wrong. All your friends are in your church. Your friend is not God. Your friend is your pastor and your deacons and all your sister so-and-so and brother so-and-so. These are your friends, yes. You don't want to leave them, so you're going to leave those books alone. You want those effeminate men playing organs and beating the little drums. You want all this stuff, and you want that one clairvoyant person sitting up there and saying, the Lord say, when some old familiar spirit came and said to them. Not that it's not true, but there are familiar spirits in the world that know the lives of people. Oh, how we need discernment in this day and time. People using the crafts, necromancing, clairvoyance, to deceive the people of the Most High. Throne had 6 steps, and the top of the throne was round behind, and there were stays on either side, one place of the seat, and 2 lions stood beside the stays. 12 lions stood there on one side, and on the other, upon 6 steps, there was not like made in any kingdom. I mean, this man says, I am king because God made me king, and he flaunted it. God made you something, man or woman or Jacob. Flaunt it. Put on that gold. Put on that silver and all these things that you have, and God has prospered you to do such things, but don't forget about the people. It's okay that you do such a thing. Solomon stood strong because he knew God had given these things, and he was going to take them and flaunt it. You ain't going to live all your life. Do it. Don't mean you take my Solomon did something wrong here. And this, if God prosper you, you better take heed. Now, and all Solomon's drinking vessels were of gold, and all the vessels of the house of the forest of Lebanon were of pure gold. And see that you don't own the people of God. You don't own nothing of God. Whether you're a king or whatever, you do not own it. If God give it to you, he give it to you. He give people to serve you. He's given people to serve you. But you do not own it. This is where your humbleness and meekness comes at. Because even God among himself, when the Israelites said all that God has said that will we do, but yet they came down later and says, we want a king, rejecting God, and knew what they were doing. And he was humble and meek enough to say, Samuel, they don't reject you, they reject me. And from then on, they're on a downward spiral, even the kings, from Saul all the way He told Samuel that, from Saul all the way to the last king of Israel. There is no other king of Israel. Your Jesus is not a king of Israel. The line of kings were discontinued. See, God don't have do stuff. When he discontinued, it's discontinued. Now, all the King Solomon's drinking vessels were of gold, and all the vessels of the house of the forest of Lebanon were of pure gold. None were of silver. It was nothing accounted in the days of Solomon. For the king had at sea a navy. This was a world power here, of Tarshish, with the navy of Hiram. In other words, he had a combined navy. Once in 3 years came the navy of Tarshish, bringing gold and silver, ivories, and apes and peacocks. Oh, there was no monkeys in that time? Yeah, there were monkeys there. There were monkeys even in where he got these things from. They got them from where? Africa. They were in the Red Sea. And so King Solomon exceeded not only that, there were lions and bears and everything in that area until the time of its desertification. That's a new word I got. Has commenced. The animal's going to go where the vegetation is. So that's why the area is desolate and there is no lions, tigers, and bears. Oh my, no, nothing. So therefore, in verse 23, so King Solomon exceeded all the kings of the earth for riches and for wisdom. And all the earth sought Solomon to hear his wisdom, which God had put forth in his heart. Mainly Queen Sheba. She was astonished. Very astonished. But the fact is that where is it that he has had relations with the Queen of Sheba? Maybe we might cross it in some other future chapter or book. For somewhere this King Selassie, this Queen of Sheba, which was really on the other side, according to this narrative, on the other side of the Red Sea, she wasn't not in Ethiopia. How did her son from the King of Solomon wind up from Sheba over into Ethiopia? Great mystery. No disrespect to those of you of the Rastafarian persuasion. No. Just facts. How did this come about? You tell me. CLT548, gmail.com. You tell me your scripture or your books that tell you how the Queen of Sheba her son wound up in Ethiopia as a king. Now, it's a great thing that this man was used just as the king in Burkina Faso to deliver the people from its enemies and cause them to prosper. Okay, we give you that. Yeah. All right. But how is he her son? It doesn't say Solomon had any relations with her. Solomon wasn't the kind that commit adultery or fornication. For all the women that he had, he married. Doesn't say he laid with her or anything like that. So let me know. And the king made silver to be in Jerusalem as stones and cedars, verse 27. He to be as sycamore trees, as the sycamore trees that are in the vale for abundance. And Solomon had horses brought out of Egypt and linen yarn. The king's merchants received the linen yarn at a price. Linen is a very good fabric. It'll keep you from sweating, and also it'll keep you from overheating, and also in the cold it helps you out a lot. Linen, it helps disperse the heat that coming from your body, that you stay warm as long as your body provides heat. Now, and Solomon had horses brought out of Egypt. Now, verse 29, and a chariot came up and went out of Egypt for 600 shekels of silver, and an horse for 150, and for and so for all the kings of the Hittites and for the kings of Syria did they bring them out of their means. So his mother was a Hittite. So why would he do things for the king of the Hittites if his mother wasn't a Hittite? He knew his mother was a Hittite. Apparently, I mean, this is what I get from reading this verse 29. So we know that he had been with the Queen of Sheba, and the Queen of Sheba was astonished at Solomon's wisdom. Does that cause her to be a gold digger? A 304 or a baby mama to Solomon? Somebody tell me something, clt548@gmail.com, if you don't want it in the comments. But the fact is that where did this narrative of the King Selassie come from? A book? Some book? Because Solomon was the one to, he didn't go with that adultery. There's nothing that I see that he had committed adultery, but he did do some dirty stuff before the Most High. And we shall see these things in upcoming. But I'm not trying to go against King Selassie or anybody. I mean, it's a blessing that they have delivered their people and caused them to prosper. The people of Ethiopia, I mean, far greater than I am. And the people of, Burkina Faso and all these other places that God had blessed them to be delivered and set free of their oppressors. But the fact is that the narrative that I'm seeing is that I don't see it. And so I'm one that call a buck a buck. If I see it there, there it is. If it don't make sense, I'm going to point it out. Regardless of how holy you think it is or what your preacher told you, I'm going to tell you exactly what it says right there, and I'm going to read it word for word. And this is what we're reading. Yes, we're reading it word for word. Everything we do, we're reading it word for word, that you might have something to stand on and that I have something to stand on. I'm not debating. I'm just reading the word of God, and we're walking together, and I'm pointing it out as I see it and as I know it. And if it conflicts with something that I know, I'll straighten it out. And with that, we're going to say peace. Yeah.
Walk with me.